This happened last year. I was 32 and a freelance graphic designer. I worked from home, surrounded by art supplies and my computer. I had just gone through a breakup and wanted to feel less lonely. I thought online dating would help. It seemed simple, swipe and chat. I didn't expect anything strange to happen. One night, I got a message from a profile I didn't recognize. The words were vague and odd. They mentioned parts of my life I never shared online. I laughed it off, thinking it was a prank, and went back to scrolling. But as days passed, I got more messages. They turned unsettling. They referenced things like my favorite coffee shop, and even a book I had mentioned in a text. Each time I thought it was just a weird coincidence. Soon it got worse. I started receiving friend requests from accounts that seemed familiar. I opened one message and froze. There was a picture of my living room. My stomach dropped. I had not posted any photos of my place recently. I rushed to my social media, but didn't find anything that could explain it. A chill traced down my spine. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. I reassured myself it was just coincidence. Maybe someone I met had seen me and mixed up my information. But the feeling wouldn't go away. I looked at each profile closely, trying to find a clue. With each click, the air around me felt colder. I knew something was off, but I didn't know how to stop it. One evening, I decided to dig deeper. I traced back one account that reached out. They claimed to be an artist, like me. When I checked their work, nothing made sense. The photos were fuzzy and poorly shot, like someone was hiding something. I felt an uneasy thrill build. I was getting closer to figuring this out, but I also felt a dark dread creeping in. Then came the message that broke me. One day, I got a simple text that said, "I see you." My heart raced. It felt real. Was someone following me? I glanced around my apartment, peeking through the windows. Nothing. But then came a knock at the door. It was soft at first, almost like it was trying to whisper. I froze. I didn't want to move. My body turned cold. What if they knew I was right here? Anxiety pulled at my chest. I wanted to check the door, but the thought scared me more. I didn't want to know who was there, but I also needed to find out. I stood still, trying to listen. The knocking came again, louder this time. My breath hitched. I reached for my phone, ready to call for help, but I couldn't take my eyes off the door. I bit my lip, feeling trapped. The silence was deafening, and the knocking kept echoing. Panic swelled inside me, slowly boiling over. Was I really all alone, or was someone waiting on the other side? I finally worked up the courage and took a step toward the door. Each creak of my floor felt like thunder. I pressed my ear against the wood, straining to hear anything beyond the knocking. My heart echoed in my ears, loud and frantic. What if it was someone I didn't want to see? What if it was the person behind the messages? The knocking stopped suddenly. An eerie silence filled the air. I hesitated, my hand hovering over the doorknob. Should I open it? What if I exposed myself? Then a whisper of movement came from outside, soft but distinct. I jumped back, my heart racing faster than ever. "Hello?" I called out, my voice shaky. "Who's there?" No reply. Just the sounds of the night creeping back in. Anxiety clawed at my insides. I had to know. I opened the door slightly, just enough to peek through the crack. Standing there was a young woman, her hair messy and clothes worn. She looked familiar and unsettling. I squinted, trying to recall where I had seen her before. My stomach twisted as I realized she resembled the artist from one of the profiles. "Can I help you?" I asked, trying to sound brave. Before she could finish, a piercing scream shattered the calm of the night. We both jumped, my heart threatening to leap out of my chest. The scream felt wrong, like it belonged to someone who had lost everything. I glanced back at the girl, and her eyes were wide, fear replacing any pretense of calm. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, panic rising. She nodded, her voice barely audible. "We need to go, now." "What?" I was still confused, my mind racing to catch up. "Who are you? What do you want?" But she didn't answer. Instead, she turned and started to walk away, gesturing for me to follow. My instincts screamed to run back inside, to slam the door shut. But what if the scream came again? What if I was alone in this nightmare? I hesitated before stepping out onto the porch, the cool night air biting at my skin. "Wait," I called, urgency creeping into my voice. "What do you mean? What's happening?" She turned, her expression a mix of urgency and fear. "You got a message too, didn't you? The one that said they see you?" I felt the blood drain from my face. "You got it too." She nodded again, her eyes darting around as if expecting someone to jump out at us at any moment. "What does it mean?" I asked, panic bubbling at my chest. "That's just it," she whispered, lowering her voice. "I just found out who they are." Suddenly, shadows loomed in the distance, out of my line of sight. My heart skipped. Were they following us?
"Run," she shouted, and without thinking, I turned and sprinted down the steps, my only thought to escape the growing darkness around us. Then, everything went dark. I jolted awake, breathless, my heart pounding like a drum. The world around me was pitch black, and I strained to make sense of my surroundings. I could hear the rustle of leaves and the distant sound of traffic, but I couldn't tell where I was. Panic clawed at my throat as I struggled to sit up, the cold ground chilling my fingertips. "Where am I?" I mumbled, my voice hoarse. The memory of the woman hit me like a brick. Had she pulled me away? Did we escape?
Just then, I could make out a dim light flickering in the distance. I squinted, trying to focus. It seemed to be coming from a small clearing. I pushed myself to stand, shaky but determined. As I took cautious steps toward the light, I thought I heard whispers. They were soft but distinct, echoing through the darkness. "Can you hear that?" I whispered to myself. My instincts kicked in, and I pressed forward, curiosity mingling with fear. I needed to know what was happening. The light grew brighter, and I stumbled into the clearing. A small campfire crackled, surrounded by a group of people huddled close. Their faces were obscured by shadows, but their voices grew clearer, more coherent. "We'll be safe here until dawn," a man said. My heart raced. My entire body screamed at me to turn back, but my feet were glued to the ground. Who are they? I thought, scanning the group. The girl from before was among them, her face pale and drawn. My chest tightened at the sight of her. She seemed shaken, and that only added to my confusion. What had we escaped? "Did you find her?" The question stole my breath. They were looking for me? I stepped back, my heart in my throat. Suddenly, the girl's eyes locked onto mine, relief fighting with fear. "You're okay," she called out, pushing through the group. "We thought—" Her voice faded as a low rumble interrupted, echoing through the trees. I turned, feeling the air shift. Something was coming. The group fell silent, their expressions changing from relief to dread. "What was that?" I gasped, dread pooling in my stomach. "Something you need to see," she said, pulling me closer. "I can explain everything, but not here." A woman beside the fire stood. "Hide," she urged, her voice urgent. "We have to move, fast." My feet didn't listen, frozen as fear took over. Then I spotted a shadow creeping into the clearing. The figure was tall, cloaked, the very embodiment of what I feared. I felt a chill race down my spine. It was similar to the person in the messages, the one who said they were watching. "I found out who they are," the girl had said, but before I could press her for more details, darkness enveloped us again. The cloaked figure moved closer, and an overwhelming urge to flee took hold. Then I heard it, a voice that sent ice through my veins. "You can't run from me forever." Before I could react, the world around me shifted again, and everything went black. I came to in a different place, the ground soft beneath me. The soft rustle of leaves replaced the echoes of the cloaked figure's voice. I blinked, disoriented, trying to shake off the darkness that had pressed against my consciousness. A gentle breeze brushed against my face, but when I tried to sit up, my body protested. "Where am I now?" I muttered, rubbing my temples. As my vision cleared, I saw towering trees around me. I was in some sort of forest. Panic began to bubble again. Had they found me? Slowly, I pushed myself to stand, swaying slightly.
Up ahead, I spotted a flicker of light again, but this one was warmer and steady. I stumbled toward it, each step cautious. The forest was eerily silent, and my heart raced like it knew something I didn't. Then I caught movement out of the corner of my eye. I froze, adrenaline coursing through me. I turned, but there was nothing, just shadows playing tricks. The whispers started again, floating through the air. "Keep going," a voice urged. The girl was back. She stood in front of the light, just like before, her pale face illuminated by a soft glow. "You're safe." "Safe?" I echoed, my voice shaky. "How can you say that? That thing, what was it?" "It's not just a thing. It's a part of this," she replied, urgency in her voice. Before she could finish, another low rumble shook the ground. This time it felt closer, more menacing. The girl's expression shifted to one of fear. "We have to move," she shouted, grabbing my wrist. The warmth of her grip grounded me momentarily, but dread settled in my stomach. "Where?" I gasped, looking around frantically. There were no clear paths in any direction. "Follow me," she insisted, pulling me down a narrow trail barely visible through the underbrush. The whispers melted into the background, replaced by heavy, thudding footsteps. As we ran, I glanced back. The darkness was closing in, and shadows danced in the corners of my vision. I didn't want to look, but I had to. I needed to know what was chasing us. That's when I saw it.
The cloaked figure materialized from the shadows, its face hidden. A surge of terror propelled me forward. I narrowed my focus on the girl ahead. "Tell me who they are," I demanded, desperation creeping into my voice. "They're hunting us," she said, breathless. "They need something we have, something you have." "Me?" The words hung heavy in the air, and for a split second, I pondered what that could mean. This uncertainty only added fuel to the fear that ignited within me. But before I could push for more answers, the ground shook again, this time with more urgency. I glanced back at the figure, now closer. The voice croaked out over the noise. "You can't escape." I turned to the girl. "What do we do?" "Just keep running," she shouted, picking up speed. Then we burst through the trees into an open space. A shimmering light surrounded what looked like an ancient stone circle, something out of a storybook. Before we could step into it, the ground erupted behind us. The cloaked figure had entered the clearing, the darkness swirling around them like a storm. I faced the girl, panic flaring in my chest. "What is this place?" As the figure advanced, a flash of realization crossed her face. "This is where it ends," she said, locking eyes with me. The finality in her voice sent chills up my spine, and I realized we had walked right into a trap. The girl's eyes widened, and I could see fear transforming into determination. "We have to activate it. It can protect us."
"What do you mean activate it?" I asked, glancing back at the figure. It stepped closer, the shadows swirling around its feet like a living thing. "The stones," she urged, pointing at the ancient structure. "They're connected to the power we need. Just trust me." I hesitated, torn between the looming threat and the uncertainty of this mystical stone circle. But I had no choice. I sprinted toward the stones, my breath coming in ragged gasps. As we reached the circle, I felt a strange energy pulse through the air. The stones glowed softly, vibrant symbols etched across their weathered surfaces. I glanced at the girl. "What do I do?" "Touch the middle stone," she urged, her voice rising in urgency. Without thinking, I reached out. My fingers brushed the cool surface, and immediately a surge shot through me. It was like electricity racing through my veins. I gasped and pulled back, but the warmth lingered. The ground shook violently beneath us, and I let out a cry. The cloaked figure was almost upon us, its presence heavy and oppressive. I looked at the girl, but she was staring at the swirling energy gathering within the circle. "Focus," she yelled, her eyes wide with intensity. "You have to feel it. Release your fear into stones." "Release my fear?" I echoed, panic tinging my words. But deep down, I knew she was right. I had to do something. With the cloaked figure closing in, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. I pictured my fear, its form, its weight. I envisioned the darkness that had haunted me, the shadows that lurked in all spaces. I pushed all of it forward. Suddenly, the stones erupted with light. The air sizzled, and an intense warmth enveloped me. I opened my eyes, and to my shock, the figure halted, caught in the glow. Its shadowy form twisted and contorted, battling against the radiant energy. "Keep it going," the girl screamed, her eyes wide with fierce hope. "Don't stop!" I concentrated harder, letting all my fear channel through the stones. A hum filled the air, building and vibrating around us. The figure tried to move, but it was stalled, ensnared in the light. Then, just as I thought it was working, a voice boomed from its depth. "You think this will save you? I will take what is mine." I felt my heart drop as the realization hit me. This wasn't just a fight for survival. This was a battle over something intangible, something I carried inside me. "What does it want?" I shouted, my voice trembling. "It's after your power," the girl said urgently. "You don't just have fear. You have a strength it craves. You must embrace it." I didn't know how to embrace strength. I felt weak and lost. But as I glanced at the girl, her fierce determination pushed me forward. If I didn't fight, we would be lost. "No!" I yelled, letting every bit of defiance wash through me. The light around the stone blazed even brighter as I focused on the feeling of power within. The figure shrieked, a desperate sound that reverberated through the clearing, sending chills down my spine. I could feel the balance shifting, but it wasn't enough. Then everything went dark. The light flickered, and I was thrown backward, landing hard against the stones. I looked up just in time to see the girl reaching toward me, but then she vanished into the shadows. "Wait!" I cried, scrambling to my feet. "No!" The clearing was empty, and the shadows began to close in again. The cloaked figure loomed where the girl had stood just moments before, and my heart froze. Everything I had feared came rushing back, and I had to act fast. I was alone now, and if I didn't figure this out, it would be too late. I stumbled back, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure was closer now, its presence choking the air around me. I couldn't see its face beneath the hood, but I felt its gaze boring into me, like it was searching for something deep inside. Panic surged within me, but I forced myself to remember the girl's words. "Embrace your strength." "Get away from me!" I shouted, my voice shaky but loud. I reached for the stones, feeling their warmth, hoping they could still help me. The shadow moved, quick as a striking serpent, and just as I raised my hand to the middle stone, the ground trembled once more.
I braced myself, digging my feet into the earth, trying not to be swept away by the darkness. Then, without warning, a flash of light burst from the stones, illuminating the space around us. I blinked against the brightness, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse of something, a shimmer, a reflection. That's when I saw it. The symbols on the stones weren't just random markings. They shifted and glimmered, forming words a heartbeat too late. Fear becomes strength, they seemed to say, over and over. My mind raced. I remembered my fears, how they had always made me feel powerless, trapped. But what if I could turn them into something else? I thought about the girl, about the determination I saw in her eyes. She had fought for something greater than herself. The figure lunged again, and I instinctively raised my hands. "No," I screamed. "You can't have me." A force surged up from the stones, stronger than before. It enveloped me, and I could feel the power guiding my emotions. I channeled everything, my fear, my anger, but most importantly, my will to protect. The light intensified, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. I felt the tremors of the cloaked figure, sensing its struggle against the light. It twisted and writhed within the brightness, but it wasn't enough. I needed to do more. My heart pounded fiercely against my ribs as I focused. I thought of my past, the moments where I allowed fear to take the lead. "Not anymore," I declared, channeling my essence into the stones. "I won't let you consume me." The blinding light surged forth, forcing the shadows back, but the figure roared in defiance.
You are merely delaying the inevitable. Maybe, I answered, feeling the newfound strength coursing through me. Or maybe I'm only just beginning. As the shadows receded, I caught sight of a movement from the corner of my eye. The girl! She had reappeared, but she was different now. Her presence radiated with power. "You did it!" she exclaimed, rushing to my side. "Now we can fight together!" The shadows flickered around us, but they weren't as strong anymore. I realized I wasn't alone in this battle. We had a chance. But before I could respond, a chill swept through the clearing. The figure's voice echoed, filled with rage. "You think this is over. I will return, and when I do, I will take everything." Suddenly, the darkness swirled violently, and I braced myself for the worst. The last thing I saw before everything erupted into chaos was the girl's unfaltering gaze locked on mine. "Stay strong!" she shouted, as the light dimmed and the shadows rushed at us. Then, silence, and I was left alone once more, wondering what was yet to come. I blinked hard, my senses reeling from the sudden shift. The clearing was still, suffocating in an eerie silence. The air hung heavy, a stark contrast to the chaotic energy that had just crackled between us. Where had the girl gone? "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding small and lost. No answer came. My heart raced as I took a cautious step forward, the stones beneath my feet warm to the touch, pulsating as if they still held the remnants of the light that had just burst forth. Just as uncertainty seeped in, I heard a sound from behind me, a rustling, like leaves disturbed by a gentle breeze. I turned quickly, adrenaline sparking my fight-or-flight instinct. My eyes scanned the shadows, searching for any sign of movement. And then I saw it, a glimmer, just barely visible, darting between the trees. I took a step forward, curiosity over fear. The glimmer vanished, but a faint whisper reached my ears, too soft to decipher, but filled with urgency. My heart leapt. It felt like a sign, a clue. "Wait!" I cried, stepping deeper into the forest. The path ahead twisted and darkened, but I pressed on. The whispers grew louder, almost insistent. With every step, my fear morphed into determination. I needed to find the girl again. I needed answers. As I moved further, the forest seemed to come alive around me. The leaves shivered, and branches whispered, as if they were conspiring. I clenched my fists, feeling the power of the stones coursing through me. They were more than just artifacts. They were a part of this world's energy. Then I stumbled upon something insightful, a small clearing, different from the one I just left. In the center lay a circle of stones, larger and more imposing than the ones I had encountered. Symbols carved deep into their surfaces glinted in the dim light, casting strange shadows on the ground. I felt an odd pull towards them, and urged to touch the stones. However, something held me back.
"What are you?" I whispered, my voice trembling. In that moment of hesitation, a low growl echoed through the clearing. I turned slowly, my breath hitching again. From the shadows emerged a creature, its form dark and twisted, eyes gleaming with malice. "You shouldn't be here," it hissed, voice dripping with menace. "You've awakened forces that should remain undisturbed." My thoughts raced. This was another obstacle, another face of the darkness I had been battling. I glanced back at the stones, praying they would offer guidance. Would they help me here too? "Go away," I shouted, trying to sound braver than I felt. The creature laughed, low and cruel. "Don't you see? You can't escape what has been set in motion." Suddenly, I remembered the girl, her confidence igniting flames of courage within me. I wasn't alone in this fight. I could channel my strength again. "You underestimate me," I said, focused on the heat of the stones beneath my fingers. With that thought, I felt energy rise again, gathering around me like a protective shield. The creature recoiled as the light pulsated, pushing back against the shadows. I felt the warmth of determination radiate through my body, guiding my every move. "Let's see if you can withstand this," I shouted, a new sense of purpose igniting in my gut. But as I prepared to strike, I realized the whispers had stopped. An unsettling stillness wrapped around me. I turned to look back at the stones, my heart pounding as I noticed one of them had cracked. That's when I knew something bigger was at play. I didn't just need to take on the creature. I had to uncover the truth hidden within these stones before it was too late. The ground trembled beneath my feet, sending tiny vibrations through my body as I stared at the cracked stone. The creature, still lurking in the shadows, watched me with hungry eyes, its form blending into the darkness like a predator waiting for its moment. I could feel my heart racing, every instinct screaming at me to run, but I stood my ground. I couldn't back down now, not when I was so close to unraveling the mystery. "What did you do to it?" I demanded, inching closer to the circle of stones. "What does it mean?" The creature snickered, its sharp teeth glinted in the low light. "You think you're clever, don't you? You're meddling with forces beyond your understanding." It stepped forward, revealing more of its grotesque shape. "The stones hold secrets, but they're not meant to be uncovered by the likes of you." An image of the girl flashed in my mind, the fire in her eyes, the way she wielded the light like a weapon. I could do this. I had to. Ignoring the creature's taunts, I focused on the symbols carved into the stones. Each one felt alive, pulsating with energy, resonating within me. There was a pattern, a message waiting to be unlocked. Maybe it was a key, a way to turn the tide. "You don't scare me," I said, trying to inject strength into my voice. "I can handle whatever you're hiding."
With that, I touched the cracked stone, a surge of energy coursing through my fingertips. Pain shot through my hand, and I yanked it back, but not before I saw something. The symbols glowed, brighter than before, illuminating the clearing. Images danced in front of my eyes, a glimpse of the girl, reaching for something, a fleeting moment of connection. It disappeared too quickly, leaving me breathless. "Do not touch them," the creature snarled, its own voice now tinged with panic. "You'll unleash a power that could consume you both." I hesitated, weighing my options. The light had pulled me in, showing me a part of the puzzle, but the creature was right about one thing. I could feel the intensity building in the stones, stirring like a storm. I needed more, answers, direction, something that would turn this confrontation into my advantage. That's when I noticed a crack in the tree line behind the creature, barely visible, but leading deeper into the forest. My instincts flared. If I could find what lay beyond, maybe I could turn the situation around. What if I just take the chance? I thought. With newfound resolve, I glanced back at the creature, which was still reeling from my interaction with the stone. "I'm not afraid of you," I shouted, and with that, I sprinted towards the crack in the trees. A howl erupted from the creature, filled with rage and frustration. "You can't escape," it echoed. Pushing through the underbrush, I stumbled into a narrow passageway that twisted and turned. The air was cooler here, thick with anticipation. My heart raced as I pressed forward, the sound of branches snapping behind me, serving as both a warning and a motivation to move faster. And then, just ahead, there was light, brighter and more inviting than anything I had seen so far in this dark forest. I could sense it pulling me in, drawing me toward whatever lay at the end of this path. But as I raced ahead, I could still hear the creature's voice echoing behind me. "You'll wish you hadn't."
The urgency swelled within me. I needed to find that light. I needed to uncover the truth before it was too late. But what awaited me on the other side? I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change again. I burst through the trees and into a clearing, the light enveloping me like a warm embrace. It felt surreal, almost too good to be true amidst the fear that had boiled in my veins just moments before. But as my eyes adjusted, I realized that this was no ordinary light. In the center of the clearing stood a stone pedestal, and atop it rested a delicate glass orb, shimmering with bright colors, blues, greens, and purples, swirling like a living galaxy. It pulsed softly, matching the rhythm of my heartbeat. I had never seen anything like it. This must be what the creature was guarding, I whispered to myself, stepping closer. The air hummed with energy, vibrating against my skin.
I could feel the pull towards the orb, the same pull I'd felt toward the stones earlier. It was inviting, almost pleading for me to reach out. But I hesitated. Something wasn't right. The memory of the creature's anger coursed through me. It had warned me. Would touching the orb unleash something I couldn't control? Just then, the silence of the clearing shattered. A crackling sound filled the air as the trees behind me began to shift and sway violently. The creature was coming. Panic rose within me, and I made a split-second decision. I reached out to the orb, my fingers brushing its smooth surface. Instantly, a shockwave of energy rushed through me, stronger than anything I had experienced before. The colors exploded, and visions flooded my mind. Flashes of battles, glimpses of the girl, and swirling shapes of the stones from earlier. I felt a connection deeper than anything I could have imagined. But then the images darkened. I could see a shadow looming behind me, a silhouette forming in the corner of my eye. The creature, it had breached the clearing. "Stop!" it bellowed, its voice echoing with an unnatural power. "You don't know what you're doing." My heart raced as I felt the orb vibrating beneath my hand. It sensed the urgency, the fear. I had to make a choice. Continue to tap into this energy or run for my life. I couldn't let the creature take the orb. I knew that much. "Stay away!" I shouted, my voice stronger than I felt. I closed my eyes, focusing on the energy surging through me, willing it to respond, to create a barrier between me and the advancing threat. The orb began to glow brighter. I could feel its warmth wrapping around me, a protective cocoon. But as the light intensified, I noticed the shadows of the trees where the creature stood flicker and twist, as if torn between the two forces. "I will have it," the creature screamed. Its elongated fingers reached for me, but I stood my ground. The energy I felt was building, and I realized that the choice was no longer just mine. Whatever power the orb held was now intertwining with my own will. And then everything changed. The light exploded outward, sending shockwaves rippling through the clearing. I stumbled back as the force knocked the creature off its feet and into the trees. It screeched, a raw sound of fury echoing against the woodlands. "What have you done?" it gasped, its voice lowering to a growl. I looked around, blinking at the sudden brightness. The clearing had transformed. The dark tendrils of fear that had held me captive were gone. I felt the girl's presence, stronger now, guiding me toward decisions yet to be made. But I had awakened something, and I wasn't sure if it had been the right choice. My heart pounded as I stood before the orb, unsure of what to do next, uncertain of what I had just unleashed. And then I felt it, something more sinister lurking in the dark, waiting for me to lose control. I needed answers, and I could sense that the urgency had only just begun. I stood there in the clearing, the glow of the orb pulsating like a heartbeat in my hands. A sense of power coursed through me, yet beneath that surface was a current of uncertainty swallowing me whole. Just moments ago I had confronted something that felt insurmountable, but now the weight of that darkness threatened to pull me back in. The creature writhed at the edge of the trees, shadows swirling around it like a smokescreen. "You have no idea what you've unleashed," it snarled, voice dripping with both spite and fear. The words rattled through me like a chilling echo, fanning the flames of dread lurking in my gut. I took a cautious step back, aware of the orb buzzing in my hands. What had I done? I'd hardly begun to understand what this power was, yet it felt alive, smarter than me, pulsating with a will of its own. The energy seemed connected to whatever had been haunting me. Messages, whispers, the girl who had appeared and vanished in the midst of chaos.
Just let it go, the creature hissed, getting back to its feet. You cannot control that which is beyond your understanding. I wanted to keep you safe from it. There was an unsettling honesty in its tone, seeping through the malice, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew. The orb responded to my uncertainty, sending a wave of warmth through my fingertips. As if to reassure me, the light brightened, casting away the darkness creeping closer. My mind raced back to how I'd found strength in fear, how I had kept running despite the shadows. Maybe that was the key. Facing this darkness meant leaning into the light, finding a way to weave both together. Why do you want it? I challenged the creature, feeling a surge of courage welled up inside me. What does it even mean? A glint of something, fear, crossed its twisted features. You don't understand. That orb is no treasure. It is a prison, a trap meant to keep that which feeds on your essence from returning. You possess the power it seeks. Your strength has the potential to keep both of us at bay. It takes a balance. It's the only way to remain safe in this chaotic world. Safe? I echoed, each syllable steeped in skepticism. How could anything dangerous be contained within something that felt so rewarding? Yet a part of me wondered if everything was indeed intertwined. My fears, my strength, the darkness that loomed. Suddenly the whispers filled the space again, clearer than before. Choose wisely, they urged. Connect with your truth. The voices chimed, and I sensed the girl's spirit echoing my desires, igniting something deep inside me. Why should I trust you? I demanded, staring defiantly at the creature. You're the one hiding in the shadows. Because the alternative is worse, it hissed, desperation creeping through its tone. If you allow the orb's energy to rise unchecked, who knows what will come back?
It needs balance to be controlled. You have to anchor it to keep that darkness at bay. As understanding dawned upon me, I realized this creature, though frightening, was not the ultimate evil. It, like me, was a survivor trapped in the unknown, desperately trying to find a way out. But could I trust it? The thought twisted my gut. Before I could form a plan, I felt a shift in the air, a low rumbling sound that shook the ground beneath us. The shadows bent and twisted, hinting at something just below the surface, waiting for the opportune moment to strike. A voice broke through the chaos, one I only partially recognized, ringing with determination. Embrace the light, but don't let go of your fears. They make you whole. My mind shifted back to the girl. She had been there, urging me to embrace my entirety. My breath hitched. I had to trust my instincts. I turned my focus back to the orb, drawing upon the intertwined energies of both fear and strength. Taking a deep, steadying breath, I raised the orb higher and called out in a voice louder than I felt. I won't let you claim me. I will harness this power. The orb responded, surging with a pulse of light that pushed back the shadows. It radiated warmth, soothing the gnawing fear I'd carried for so long. I felt the creature's gaze upon me, a mix of terror and something else. Curiosity, maybe? Then together we fight, the creature howled. Let us blend our strengths to create balance. As the shadows lurked closer, I realized this emerging alliance could be the key. In one swift motion, I gripped the orb tighter and turned to the creature, embracing the connection we both needed to survive. All right, let's do this, I shouted, letting the orb's energy funnel through me, robbing me of any final hesitations. Together we would stand against it. The shadows closed in around us, but I could feel the harmony building, energies colliding and intertwining, my fears manifesting into a resolute shield. The orb pulsed like a heartbeat, illuminating the world around us in cascading colors, breaking past the monotony of darkness. Then everything erupted into light. The brilliance expanded beyond the clearing and into the trees, seeping into every shadow that threatened to slip between us. I shielded my eyes. This couldn't be the end. I had just started journeying down this path of discovery, but the true battle was upon me. As the light faded just slightly, I saw the cloaked figure twisting and coiling, caught in the becalm of my fears and the strength we had forged together. It shrieked, a sound of agony that rattled me to my core. You cannot hold on to this power. You don't know what it means to wield it. I stood tall, heart racing and breathless,
feeling the orb thrumming in my palm. "I'm about to find out," I shouted back, letting the energies between us unite.
And then the creature dissolved into shadows. But this time it didn't vanish. It fractured into smaller pieces, dispersing through the forest. As the echoes of its anger rippled through the air, I sensed a freedom, a lightness tugging at the corners of my being. But then I remembered. The girl's warning reverberated through my mind. Choose wisely. The orb, too, pulsed softly, as if urging me to decide the next step. My emotions tangled. Fear, hope, strength, each a part of the puzzle I still needed to complete. Standing in that clearing, surrounded by shadows that whispered stories of both danger and potential, I knew this battle was far from over. There would always be questions left unanswered, mysteries untangled. But now I had choices to make, power to wield, and the truth to uncover about the orb, the shadows, and the fate that weaved through all of it. I took a breath, feeling the warmth flood my being. I was ready to step forward, whatever that meant, even if my thoughts remained a tangled mess, a blend of what we fear and what we ultimately can become.